55% of SEO job descriptions now mention AI, but only 11% of the job titles have AI in them. If you're an agency owner and your career path still look like they did, back in 2023, you're hiring for a market that, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't exist anymore. You're not offering somebody just a job, you're offering them a vision of themselves and what they can be like in 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. I was chatting to a good friend of mine the other day, Nick Eubanks. If anybody doesn't know who Nick is, he's very well known in the search industry. He is an agency coach. He's sold agencies before. He is an equity partner in, I think, 6 different agencies at the minute. And he told me one thing that he keeps on seeing people struggle with, agency owners in particular, is career path management. And honestly, from running SEO for Hire and doing, hundreds of client discovery calls, we keep on hearing it from the client side, but also from the candidate side. So what we're seeing is like the 2 biggest reasons that candidates tell us that they're leaving is it's not always just about the money. It's normally that there's no clear progression. And of course, money ties into that as well. But I feel like nobody's telling them what's possible or what it takes to actually get there and selling them on the identity of where they can be. And look, the market is moving faster than ever. And I think a lot of agency owners are trying to keep up with it, but this industry is changing so fast. So what we did is we used data from salaryguide.com, our sister company, and we analyzed, I think it was like 1,100 SEO job listings, and there's salary data from about 15,000 marketing professionals. And what we realized is the game has changed. So if you haven't updated your career paths, you're losing to agencies that have. And basically in this video, I'm going to walk you through on how we can do that to attract the best A players in the market right now. So from doing this research, basically the biggest 2 things that we realized, and I feel like this might come second nature to a lot of people, is that the SEO market is splitting into 2 tiers. So what we're saying is on tier 1, you've got, your traditional SEO, somebody that's used to, rankings, looking at keywords, technical fixes, the real grunt SEO work. And that's great. But what we're seeing on that is that salaries are stagnated. And then on the other side, you've got tier 2, which, we call these like the AI native SEOs. So they're the ones that are busy building like AI powered workflows, using AI for forecasting and strategies, thinking about SEO as, more of like a system problem. And again, we've got one client in particular in New York who's like kind of turning into like an AI first agency. And he is just obsessed with getting the best AI native SEOs to work for his company. And, what we're seeing, and we're going to go over the data in a minute, is we're seeing that those AI native SEOs are looking for about 30% more in terms of salary over your traditional peers of the tier 2 traditional SEOs. But here's the thing that I found really, really interesting. And, we're chatting with a few publications on how we can get this live. Because I think it's super, super interesting. What we've seen from this data is that there was, I think it was 55% of SEO job descriptions now mention AI. So, you obviously have to have those AI skills, but only 11% of the job titles have AI in them. So, that brings the question, like, what does that tell us? And kind of the conclusion I've come is that companies want the skills, but they're not building the role around it or necessarily paying for it. And I feel like that's an unfunded mandate. So if you're an agency owner and your career path still look like they did, back in 2023, you're hiring for a market that, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't exist anymore. So we're going to go over that and fix that in this video. So one thing that we keep on bumping into is most agency owners are obsessed with hiring, but then completely ignore what happens when somebody joins. So I want to ask you the question, when was the last time you sat down and looked what progression actually looked like within this role for your agency? We keep on hearing, my team are on hundreds of calls with candidates, and we keep on hearing, we love the agency, we love the clients, but there's no path. And if there's no path, they're going to bounce. And the thing is that we're seeing that most agencies, they're not doing the research when it comes to the actual role, the salary brackets and everything that's included in it. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's, they're trying to stay up to date in this crazy evolving industry. They're trying to stay up to date with salaries and stuff. But what we're seeing is that they kind of act on what they used to do instead of constantly updating. And, it's second nature to know that the market is moving, salaries change, expectations change, AI has changed what skills are worth. But agencies are still running on whatever structure they had, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And we keep on hearing it where we have, clients that, they're wanting to work with us, but every single time we try and deep dive into like, are we replacing the role? Is this a new role? It's always, I need to replace my senior, SEO manager, SEO strategist, whatever it is. And it's because they didn't take the time to, build out an actual outcome job scorecard, understand what the salary brackets are, and build that career path so that you can have somebody that sees the vision and sees the clear roadmap of where they're going to go. And those people that do ring us saying that they need to replace somebody, often it's like 6 months, 8 months, 12 months where they've had that person. So you've basically lost out on all that time. So I want to tell you about one of our clients that absolutely nailed it. So one of our clients, actually one of our first clients, came to us way back, and they wanted us to hire a few SEO roles. I think it was like 4 SEO roles. And it was one of the most impressive client discovery calls I've had, because normally what we do is we try and build an employer value proposition. We build out a clear roadmap. We build out everything we can to basically make this as attractive as possible to the candidates. And this client basically had everything ready for us to go. And one thing that I've asked, could we take the best bits from, is they had a clear career roadmap for their candidates. So what that looked like is they had, let's just, for example, they had a junior SEO specialist who's like learning the ropes, and they had 3 sub levels within that role and a salary range from whatever it was at the time to match that. Then what they had was a clear map to go from junior SEO specialist to an SEO specialist. And they had like all the KPIs on it. They had the salary band that you would then be moved up onto. They had different levels. They had everything. Like, it was super, super detailed. And the bit that made it super, super special was that you could see the perks that scale with the actual role as well. So, let's say, for instance, it was like an L1, you get a bonus structure, a X amount towards a networking budget. When you hit L3, you've got, X amount to different kind of budgets, different kind of basically bonus schemes. And it's all based on your KPI performance. And then what was really cool as well is it gave you 2 options. So you could be split into 2 tracks. You could go down, let's say, the senior SEO specialist at, let's just say it was 85 to 120K. If you wanted to stay hands-on, or if you then wanted to become an SEO team leader at the same range, you could go into leadership. And then there was like specific training that would help you go down that path. And it would show you what role would be after that, whether that be a head of SEO or whatever it was. But again, it had salary brackets on everything, and it showed the KPIs that you'd have to hit in order to get that promotion to go up the career ladder. And all that sounds great from a company basis, but when we showed that to candidates, their eyes genuinely lit up. And it wasn't even just about the salary brackets. It was about the identity that you were able to give that candidate. So, you knew, here's who you're going to join and here's who you can become. And you're not offering somebody just a job, you're offering them a vision of themselves and what they can be like in 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. And this clarity is your competitive advantage. Most agencies can't do that. And if you can, you win the candidate every single time. I've seen this firsthand so many times. It's a big thing on what we do when we sign a client. We go in and we try and build this out for them. And again, our idea is that, especially like whoever's listening to this is probably a great performance marketer in whatever they do. They understand that you have to have a really good offer. You have to make it extremely attractive to get your ICP to sign or buy. And I feel like a lot of people miss out on this when they come to hiring. They think, okay, we've got, let's just say, an SEO manager role, paid media manager role, whatever it is. Let's just go and look at a job description that we had 3, 4, 5 years ago. Let's tweak little bits and put it up, and let's just hope that we get somebody. We post it on LinkedIn or we put it on Indeed, which, yeah, don't get me started on it. I think job boards are dead. But that's just not how you find the A players that are busy in the trenches, working, trying to upskill and experiment and fail and learn and build as much as they can in this AI era. So yeah, taking the time to actually do this is going to be super, super invaluable. So if you're going to be going and building out your career roadmap, here is my advice on how you get it. Implement a standardized title structure across every department. And I know that titles don't really hold that much weight, but it means that you're going to be able to, have your clear progression map. You're going to be at this title, and then you can go to this title. And again, don't get too rigid with it. Play about with it. It might take time where you're going to have to show your leadership team, do they agree with it, do they not? But it just means you could have something like analyst, specialist, to strategist, to senior strategist, to manager, to director, to VP, whatever it is that works best within your agency or company. And then within each title, have sub levels with each title. So you could have L1, L2, L3, and it gives people those stepping stones, not just the big jumps that they can't see themselves making. So it gives them those small little micro goals, if you want to call it that. And at each level, be super, super clear about what's expected, not just the do good work for 2 years and you might be here. Give them the actual skills, the actual KPIs, and the actual outcomes of what you want from them. And again, this can be tied back into their monthly reviews, their quarterly reviews. Myself at my company, we do move the business forward. So every single week we do revenue generated tasks on a Monday, and then we check in all the week until Friday and see if they're there. You know, you could have those as like the knowledge base to go back and just make sure that you're building everything and you're getting those micro goals. So again, this comes back to from the data that we've seen, like this is hard data, hard valuable data that we've got. The biggest salary jumps happen at that specialist to strategist transition. And again, when they're going from the manager to director position. So those are the moments people leave if they cannot see that direct path. And again, super, super interesting one on this, and something that I'm sorry, but you have to do is you have to tie salary bands backed by real data on each one of them. Of course, biased, you can use mycompanySalaryGuide.com or just shoot me an email or whatever. I'm more than happy to give you a range, but like at least put a range in. Even if you're unsure of it, you need to be putting in a range. So attach salary bands to each level. Even if it's 50 to 20K ranges, they need to overlap within progression points so that you've got that flexibility. But again, here is what the best agencies do. They tie progression directly with actual KPIs and revenue targets, not just time served. And I feel like I do a whole video on why time served is probably one of the worst metrics to look if somebody's going to be good for your company or not. You can be in a tick the box type of agency for 4 or 5 years, or you could be in a, let's say, a startup mindset agency that you get so much more views on everything that's going on and stuff. So you learn a lot quicker. But again, that's just going over time served doesn't mean anything. So we're going to have things in there like if you hit these numbers and this is what happens, not stick around for 2 years and we'll see what happens. And again, you're going to need to go into something like salaryguide.com. Obviously, it's marketing focused, so it'll probably be the best one for you. Again, I'm biased, but again, get those ranges for those salaries. And again, something that's super interesting that we found from our data as well is that agency roles actually pay 15 to 25% more than in-house roles when it comes to junior or mid-level roles, which I feel like from working in this industry and recruiting for some of the best companies in the world and the biggest agencies, I feel like that's actually a misconception that a lot of people think. A lot of people think that they go in-house, they actually get bigger salaries, but that's actually not what our data is seeing at all. So yeah, that's your advantage as an agency owner. And again, just remember, if your team has to guess what they could be earning, they're going to go find out somewhere else. So I promise you, when it comes to pay, transparency is what wins. Okay, so the next part on this is accounting for AI skills. So this is one thing that most agencies are completely missing. So again, from our data, what we're seeing is that 30% of salary premiums for candidates with proven AI architecture skills, that's real. We're seeing it across the board. We're seeing it from our clients that we're hiring for an SEO for hire side, and we're seeing it from the data on Salary Guide. So if you're hiring for, let's say, an SEO specialist and they can build out AI-powered workflows or automate content pipeline or use AI for forecasting, whatever it is, they're not worth, let's just say, the 70 grand. The 30% on top of that, they're going to be, more towards, let me do the maths on that, 85 to 95K plus. So if you're offering those kind of people the 65 or the 70K, they're going to be completely turned off, and they're just going to go elsewhere. And again, remember the career path that you show, it needs to reflect this. So at every level, define what traditional SEO looks like and what AI native skills look like. Make the premium super, super visible so that you're kind of showing your team that you need to be upskilling, you need to be going in this direction. And that's the whole way that the company culture is going towards. So again, let's say for a super junior role, the AI literacy is going to be completely different. It's going to be more like table stakes. People that are fluent in ChatGPT and Claude for research, ideation, or data analysis or whatever. But as we start going up the ladder to more like, let's say, specialist role, they're going to actually have to be building AI systems, prompt libraries, automated workflows, AI assisted content pipelines. And then, as we go up more to like more higher level strategists, you're going to have people that, just are using AI architecture for their decisions. So, build versus buy, evaluating platforms, measuring AI with ROI, and just somebody that just lives and breathes AI all day, every day. And if your career framework doesn't have an AI track, you're building for years ago. Times are changing and we need to adapt with that. Okay, my last bit of advice on this is if you've got remote or an international team, you have to localize the compensation. So a senior SEO in London is not the same as having a senior SEO in New York or Austin. There is a massive difference in salary. And sometimes as well, if you are a US company and you're hiring within the UK, although you will be saving a lot on salary, sometimes, we've got our US clients that won't obviously have to pay like a 401k or do the pensions. So they'll add in a little salary bump or a bonus scheme to that UK marketer so that they're, even more happy to work with them as well. So just remember there is regional bands and you need to be transparent about them. So don't pretend that one size fits all, because your team will figure it out and they'll probably end up presenting it. And again, when it comes to hiring, one thing that we do that, I'll give you guys for free, it's super, super value, is we stopped hiring for job descriptions and we started building outcome-focused scorecards. So the idea is, how are you going to put yourself in an A player's position? How are you going to get excited over roles, responsibilities, and requirements? Like, it makes zero sense to me. You're going to get more excited on, where you can go with that company. And again, that brings us back to the whole career path management. But our idea is that you tell somebody a scorecard that will actually show them what success looks like. So, the 3 sections that we really advise you nailing is, of course, the mission. So not a fluffy job summary, but answer 2 questions. The 2 questions that we always ask our clients when we're doing a discovery call to build this out is, what is the number one thing the rest of the team is currently over leveraged on because that person isn't here? Second question is, if this hire fails in the first 6 months, what's the most likely reason why? If you can answer those questions honestly, you've defined the role probably better than 90% of the agencies out there. And on those key measurable outcomes, we want to imagine it's 1 year from today and you're celebrating this hire's performance. What's 3 specific numeric achievements are you celebrating? Not they did a good job, but we want to have actual metrics and actual numbers. They increased organic lead gen by 20% by month 6. They reduced average response time from 4 hours to 1 hour. Whatever it is within your agency or your company, you're going to have those written measurable outcomes, or else you don't know what you're actually hiring for. And of course, the next section of this is going to be red flags. So write down the red flags before you start interviewing. What are the warning signs you've seen in bad hires before? Because in the middle of an interview, you're going to get charmed, you're going to get excited, and you'll ignore the red flags. So write them down, which means that you're going to be clear-headed because you've got the checklist right in front of you. And of course, you can get somebody that, ticks all the boxes on the technicality, but if they're not a cultural fit, they're going to be out within 90 days. So question that we love asking our clients is, think of the best person you've ever worked with in this field. What was the one intangible trait that made them world class? Now flip that. What's a core value of your company that often gets tested, and how would a B player fail at that test? Those answers tell you more than any CV ever will. And again, if you want to build out this scorecard, my best advice is to sit down with your leadership team and build one of these for your next hire. Probably takes about an hour sitting down with your team. And I promise you, it's going to save you months and months of the wrong hire. Now, once we've got that outcome-led scorecard, what we can do is we can turn that into a 90-day success roadmap. So you've hired somebody great. Now, what most agencies do is they just throw them in the deep end and hope for the best. That's where you lose people. They're going to be out within 90 days. So those first 90 days are what I call the imprinting phase, or the honeymoon phase. It's where the hire decides whether they're in the middle of the right choice or whether they should start looking again. And we've got a super simple framework that you can follow here. So within day 7, and of course, this goes away from all the basics of, making sure that they meet everybody on the team, make sure that they've got all their logins, make sure they're set up for success. This is after all of that's done. So day 7, what we recommend to our clients, what we do when we check in with our candidates that have been placed, is we do what we call the alignment pulse. So we have a one-on-one with the hire and a separate one with their manager. And what we're looking for is early friction. Is there technical blocks? Is there access issues, confusion about priorities, anything that's slowing them down? And our job is to basically be the middleman to remove that immediately. And again, the goal in this is nothing should be stopping this person from being productive in their first week. And again, there's a great book called Scaling Up by Vern Haddish, and he talks about one of the best things that you can do for your team is to de-hassle them. So stop trying to motivate them. What you as an agency owner or company owner or hiring manager, whatever it is, your job should be to de-hassle that person so that they can do what they're hired for and absolutely kill it with you. The next thing is day 30. What we're going to do is we're going to do a culture integration check. And again, this is what we're trying to look out for is your early warning system. Is there cultural friction? Are they gelling well with the team? Is the reality matching what was promised in the interview? If there's a mismatch, you can catch it now and course correct that. Not 3 months in when they've already mentally checked out. We want to get these in as early as we can. And again, okay, day 90, what we're going to do is we're going to check in and we're going to do a performance sync. And what that is we're going to pull out the job scorecard, the outcome scorecard that we already built with our clients. And we're going to take that and we're going to review the hire against the measurable outcomes that we defined at the start. So, where are they tracking? Where are they behind? This is the moment the hire transitions from, new person to high performing team member. So we need to make this super, super formal as well. This is a proper sit down and we need to make this clear. And again, this might all sound super basic, but I promise you most agencies are not doing any of this. They hire someone, they give them a laptop and they check in randomly. Then they wonder why, 4 months down the line, why that person's gone. Or, the person has pretended they're off sick, but they're actually interviewing for your competitor. So if you run this 7, 30, and 90-day framework, you catch the problems before they get the chance to even do that. And your hires from day one that you've invested in their success, they will really, really appreciate that. And that's something that I can promise you. So I can tell you at least from my experience, and again, as I said, I had a call with Nick literally the other day about this, that we get to chat to clients and candidates, every single week. And the agencies that have these figured out, so employer value proposition, which to me means career path scorecards, onboarding, they retain longer, they attract better candidates, and their hiring calls with us are way smoother because they know exactly what they need. And the ones don't, they're the ones that we constantly see their team members putting up the open to work badge on LinkedIn or messaging my team saying that they want to find a new role. And again, guys, this is not like fancy HR stuff. It's a career roadmap, a one-page scorecard, and a 7, 30, and 90-day framework for you to check in. And you can literally start building these all today. So go on to salaryguide.com, check out what the market is actually paying for these roles and build your career progression framework around the real data, not what somebody was paid, 2-3 years ago. And again, if you want any help with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the job scorecard below. So you've got the template. It's going to be in the description. You can download that, use it, sit down with your leadership team and put that together for your next hire. And again, what we're actually doing at the minute is we're trying to build out a full SEO career progression framework. It's going to go into like 8 levels from like junior analyst all the way up to VP with salary data, AI skill requirements, what actually gets people promoted at each stage so that you can basically just plug and play that into your own agency. And yeah, of course, I feel like it would be injustice if I didn't say, if you do need help when it comes to hiring any search marketers, whether that be SEO, paid, organic, BDMs, SDRs, we do that all for digital agencies and some of the world's leading brands. So if you want any help on that from myself or my team, just always drop me a message on LinkedIn or comment on the video below, and I'd be happy to help you. Thanks, everybody.